while we're admitting folks to the room, we thought that we would start off with a fun icebreaker. So if you could just say your name, your organization, and we had wanted to do small groups, but we were having some issues with the breakouts. So we're gonna just have you do in the chat, say your favorite book as a child.
So Kylie, just so you know, my company disables the chat function.
Oh, okay.
So I can't participate in stuff that way, so.
Okay, got it, Debbie. Thanks for that.
Oh, thanks.
Want to just tell us then? Everybody's getting set?
Yeah, let me think about it.
Think about it.
I know there was one that my daughter really loved. It was the I Love You Forever book.
Oh, yeah.
By Robert Munsch.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Thanks, Debbie.
Sure.
If it limits your participation in any way, feel free to just speak up. We can always take emails as well. So, all right, we've got folks, the email or the books rolling in. Phantom Tollbooth, Harry Potter. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, Where the Red Fern Grows, Matilda, Ferdinand the Bull, The Faraway Tree, Tom Sawyer. Love it. All right, and I'm still
Shay, I love Little House on the Prairie too, but different times. Same with Huckleberry Finn. Different times. Julius, I'm not, I have to tell you, a pickle for a nickel, I'm not read. He's laughing. That's awesome.
Lisa, what's yours?
Mine was Little Bear, and by oh golly, it's a little bear, and he has to go to bed. Good night, little bear. Actually, it's Good Night, Little Bear, and he has to go to bed, and he hides on his dad's shoulders, and his dad walks around the house trying to find Little Bear. You know, like, where could he be? Where could he be? And then he's in front of a mirror and sees him. But it's a joke the whole time. Like, where could he be? Under the stove? Under, you know, under the bed.
That's awesome. Mine is kind of like, a little bit like that. Mine is There's a Monster at the End of this book with Grover. So it's all these things, and then who's at the end of this book? It's actually Grover. And Amelia Bedelia, When Hitler Stole the Pink Rabbit.
That's interesting, Barbara. Number the Stars.
Green Eggs and Ham.
That's one of my all-time favorites. I forced my children to read that.
All right, this is great. All right, I think we've got most everyone. We've got 25 folks. So thanks everybody for putting your name and organization and favorite childhood book in the chat. As folks join, we'll ask them to do the same. But we have quite a few attendees today and a full agenda. So I am excited to be connecting with you all, and I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. You should be able to see our agenda for today, and I'll go ahead and put it in presenter mode. So we, like I said, had anticipated doing small groups, but we'll do that next time where you all can connect as smaller teams. And I'm gonna recap our process to date, but the majority of our time we're gonna spend with the logic model and prioritizing some of what we've heard in order to make it a kind of targeted and cohesive logic model. And then we will hear from Lisa, who, as you all know, as part of our process is understanding who all is doing what in the world of literacy so that we can best partner and connect. And so she's going to be sharing that, and then we'll do next steps. I think most for our time, that most of you would have seen this in our original root cause conversations, but just want to share kind of our group norms, and that I am in the role of facilitator, listening, reflecting, and guiding, and taking feedback. You all are going to be doing the work and owning the work, so this logic model needs to be reflective of you all and of the community. And with Zoom, sometimes it's hard to manage conversations. So we've got the wait and wait. So if you are someone that processes verbally, you want to, kind of check that at times. And if you're someone who processes more internally, being able to share your opinion, we've got multiple ways to do that. Polling, I know the chat, for most. And then many of you utilized the survey as well, which was great. Assuming that we're all here for to increase literacy rates and to really achieve our mission, and so assuming positive intentions despite any disagreements, and that we are now kind of moving from the brainstorming mode into defining mode. So actually you can ignore that today one, but let's skip down to what is said here stays here, what is learned here leaves here. Just that we want to create a safe space. One of the big things that came up in our listening was psychological and emotional safety, and so that this is a space where folks can reflect and be honest with each other, and that there's no room for blame, that it's about all of us, and that systemic issues need systemic solutions. And this will be a big thing today, thinking comprehensively even when we can't always act comprehensively. So that's going to be part of this prioritization, that we want to be able to connect those functions. So the process to date, I'll do this really fast, but that we have done a lot of data collection. Lisa and the team put together an amazing needs assessment summarizing 8 listening sessions, as well as a scan of data and a scan of regional reports. So you all should have access to that needs assessment. And then she led, along with partners, a series of 5 webinars to dig into the priorities of summer learning, teacher preparedness, attendance, and family engagement. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Lisa.
Kindergarten readiness?
Kindergarten readiness. Thank you. That's it. Yes. So we had this series of 5 webinars on that, and thanks to our partners for really jumping in and sharing their knowledge and expertise. And then from there, we went into a conversation on what's the story behind these priorities, and what are the challenges that we see on a day-to-day basis that impede our ability to really make headway on literacy rates. And so many of you spent some time with us in root cause mode. And I'll just say, for all of these things, we are translating an in-room experience to Zoom. So I really appreciate you all kind of being adaptable in that way. And Lisa and I do have some questions for you today on that front. But so in that case, we took what we heard from the root cause summary and shared out the details for each priority, and then boiled it up into some common priorities. And then we checked back with you through a survey. Thank you. There was some really, really great feedback in that survey around, things that maybe language maybe wasn't quite spot on, or things that kind of showed up, but you wanted to make sure that they were boiled up to the top. I've tried to capture that in our next steps, but keep making sure that that's sounding right, and that our goal here is that we achieve consensus, that we all have some angle on where we're going that we feel like is the right direction. So that's a huge priority in this process. So if you're feeling like this is you're not on that page, that's a critical priority. And so we need to hear about it, especially again in this experience of Zoom and not being able to really read the room or have the conversations after the meeting, and that kind of thing. It's something that we really appreciate you adapting to this distance mode with us, and being honest and direct, so that we can really make sure that our partners feel like this is the right direction. So that's going to be our part of today. My colleague Bernea Lester, who I think you all have connected with in the process here and there, I want to make sure real fast, I want to make sure that there's no one in the waiting room. So because we might have attendees joining, and one second. Nope, it looks like we're all good. No folks in the waiting room. And as I was saying, that my colleague Bernea Lester is out today, but she put together the root cause report. And so if there's anything that came up for that you haven't had a chance to respond to the survey on, she was going to give an overview, but I think in the interest of time, we'll just make sure that folks have seen it. And then as we're moving forward, you'll see that it's incorporated into next steps. But if you haven't had a chance to review it and fill out the survey, please revisit that last email that went out, and we will continue to monitor that. So I'm going to pause, make sure that we've got all of our attendees looking good, no one waiting in the waiting room, and folks are still sending in their favorite children's book. Anyone that's signed in and that is yep, Hair Love, oh wonderful, and then Little House series, yep, and then anyone else that has joined us, if you want to add to the chat. Great, so next steps. Let me see here, give me one moment. I'm going to pop up here. This is very draft, the very draft logic model that we have been working on coming out of the conversations that we've had. And you all should have received, again, a draft in the email last night. Thanks to Lisa for sending that out. But before I do that, anybody have any questions about the process to date or kind of our purpose for today? Feel free to chat it or shout it out.
I want to make one clarification. As a former executive director of a nonprofit organization, I've done many logic models. But when you look at what Kylie's about to present to you, it's kind of backwards because it's a collective impact logic model, meaning that we got all the input from the upfront, and that is making us look at our priorities. And so if you have any questions about that while she goes through the logic model, feel free to ask. Please do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Backwards for me.
Yep, it is. It's a backwards process in that our goal really is to know where we're going, that North Star, and then what we see as the constellation of outcomes that will get us to that North Star. Knowing that entrenched complex problems are not a one and done solution, not a nice, line it up and knock it down kind of thing, as much as we wish they were. And so a logic model can be a little, like Lisa said, working backwards to make sure that we are driving towards that North Star before jumping into, what it is we are, going to do. And that it's going to be a little bit messy. And especially because, there's some things that are longer term outcomes, some things that are intermediate outcomes, and we're not going to worry too much about that today. But what we want to do is, because in order to really, so we've done a lot of brainstorming and we've heard a lot of priorities, which has been really great. I've seen a lot of connections and a lot of overlap with the priorities. And so we want to start getting a sense of where there is a kind of community buy-in. Is there a moving train? Is this reflective of local data? And making sure that we are really defining turn the pages work in a way that will be effective and in a way that will have impact on the outcome of third grade level reading. So I'm going to talk us through this logic model, but know that it's draft and that it is in process, and that our goal is to get in a place where we have some consensus around the outcomes. So this is part of the consensus building process, so that when you go into your work groups to think about and to talk about what interventions are already happening, and then what interventions might need to be built on, that you've got the kind of North Star process in front of you that you can tie then your work groups to. So great introduction, Lisa, and that backwards piece is key. All right, so here we go. Let me make sure you all can see this. All right, so hopefully folks can, oops, oh, hang on. What happened? There we go. Okay. So hopefully you can see the logic model. If you can't, let me know. Oh, Lisa, you're saying?
We can't see the first column.
Oh, that's okay. I'll get there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
I wanted to make sure you could see this. The ultimate goal is that St. Louis is a community with no disparities in literacy based on race or zip code, that all children are able to read by the third grade, contributing to their long-term academic outcomes, such as graduating on time, career readiness, and personal well-being. So that's kind of draft language, but some North Star there that we've got. As representative of that, we would have the ELA scores as kind of a benchmark for that. And then what we've heard from you, things that contribute to the that outcome. And we've broken it down in 4 categories. And an outcome is a state of being. So, you know, our ultimate outcome is third grade level reading, but we heard from you many outcomes, kind of many states of being that we thought were important. I'm still sorting through what we heard and where it goes in the kind of, if you will, category. So in that some things might not be, I tried to word things in a way that reflect that. And certainly kindergarten readiness. And so I'll start with child outcomes. So, you know, this is kind of in the literacy mode, recognizing that children who are kindergarten ready are going to be ready to learn and ready for literacy. And this is where I'm getting to that state of being comment. Increase attendance, reduce tardiness. That's actually not a state of being, you know, that actually learning or having knowledge or you know, that readiness is more a state of being. But we wanted to make sure that attendance is reflected here. And we'll get to kind of where that falls, but in our ultimate logic model. But for now, we just recognize that that student attendance and tardiness is important and contributes directly to their ability to read. So does maintaining academic gains over the summer and reducing summer slide, so that and that continuity of learning is key. And then we've heard from you around children's experience of trauma or psychological and emotional safety. And so that's reflected here, that can show up in terms of behavior in the classroom and their ability to learn. So an ultimate state of being is that, you know, children would live a trauma-free life, right? And so, you know, again, kind of getting to that way around that. And we've heard that experiences and connections related to literacy are important. That how they tie what they're reading to their life, to their world is key. And so that can show up in terms of culturally relevant materials, that can show up in experiences and activities that young people do that directly tie, children do, that directly tie to their learning. So those are some of the things that we've heard through this process. Professional practices, teacher readiness and preparedness is a key one that's been identified. So those are the highlighted ones. That can include skills to layer supports for students, again, using culturally relevant materials, but really this readiness to teach literacy and professional development that go into that. Trust, relationships, huge factors that we've heard. Reducing interrupted learning was one that came in through the survey. So that one is, we wanted to reflect that. Again, that ties into the teacher being able to be in the classroom and be present, and for students to be able to be present in learning. And we've heard that the system is traumatizing for teachers as well. And so increasing that psychological and physical safety is important. Families, a huge factor, increasing family stability, decreasing the trauma and violence in communities that we care about, and increasing that psychological and physical safety. All leading to their ability to support their children while learning. Increasing parental literacy, confidence in literacy, and again, kind of that tying into their support for literacy in their children. And reducing mobility rates directly as it ties to attendance. The system has been a huge issue, especially community voice being key. Needing resources. Time has come up as a resource, funding has come up as a resource, alignment among providers. How are we all moving toward this North Star? And the nonprofit field, there's organizations that are doing the work go through such transition. How do we, just as we care about family stability, how do we care about organizational stability and effectiveness? And all this really, I mean, address broken system that could have gone into a long-term, that could be the North Star in and of itself in so many ways. So that's, but that really came through from folks in our listening. So just take one more minute to go to the left here. Oh, you're right, Lisa, we actually can't see the full. Give me 1 second, y'all. One second. What happened here? Okay, here we go. All right, back to screen share. Sorry about that. Okay, so I know many of you have had the opportunity to work with the logic model, so I won't belabor it, but that, like Lisa said, we're moving from ultimate goal to what we do to reach that ultimate goal. So there's going to be outcomes that we're talking through today, and then when you get into your work groups, we're going to talk more about the outputs. And that is, what are we doing to reach these goals, and who are we reaching? How are we connecting with folks? So that's our next step in building this logic model. Today we're focusing on the sandwich, the bookends, the where we want to go, and what our inputs are, because both of those are going to inform your conversations and the outputs. And so the inputs are what we invest, our partners, our collaborators, our community initiatives, and funding. So, and we got some suggestions from our survey as well. So we popped those up there. And Lisa, before we get off the call today, she'll be sharing a little bit more about the landscape map that she's been working on and has done an amazing job of. All right, so our next step is, as you can see, there's a lot, and we brainstormed a lot, and it's all really important. None of this is going away. None of the work that you have done is going away. It's about kind of putting emphasis, bolding some things and graying some things out, in the sense that that's, you know, this is something we care about, we're going to add it in here, we're going to get to it down the road. So there's some criteria as part of this process that influence how we prioritize, and those are grounded in community voice, you know, as a priority. Is this reflective of what we've heard from the community and local data? Is it grounded in what we expect of Turn the Page? If Turn the Page suddenly started focusing on a living wage for parents, it might be a little bit, you know, disjointed. That doesn't mean that we can't support, because we know that and we can't build on that work, because we know that partners are doing that work, and we know that that's integral to seeing outcomes for our children. So you know, we're kind of piecing things out in that way as well. And then opportunity for change. Is there something that's really moving right now? Is there something that is kind of, I'd say, moving train, but something that has momentum that Turn the Page can really build on? And so those are some of the criteria that we are going to be discussing today for our outcomes. And the other thing too that I want to mention, those, oh, and sorry, and there's one more, evidence of what works. Important one. Is this grounded in what the research says? And you know, as we're thinking about third grade level reading, you know, are these the direction, is this the direction that we should go based on research? So those are the 5.
Name them again. Name them again.
You're going to see it. Yep, grounded.
Okay.
And in fact,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. I'll just pop this up. You'll see the poll as we do it. 1 second. So we're going to be doing a poll everywhere. The prioritization, the 5 are grounded in community experience, what we've heard from the community. Is there an opportunity for change? Is there momentum around this? Is there evidence that this works as a priority? Does it reflect community expectations of Turn the Page? Is this in our mission? And does it reflect local data? So that is how we are going to prioritize. And then if there's a criteria that you think really needs to be a part of this, chat it out, shout it out. You know, this is a step in the process based on our research. However, we want to make sure that it's also grounded in your expertise. So feel free to shout that out. All right. So we are going to use Poll Everywhere and use a link, and for the outcomes here that we've talked through, the bolded ones are givens. These are ones that we know are part of Turn the Page's mission, that have been with us from the start and are part of the national campaign. So so those are kind of givens, if you will. And so we're going to explore some of what else we've heard in the brainstorming process and in the root cause process and in the research. And so give me a moment, and we're going to jump into this poll. 1 second. And the way that I've got it set up is that, and the way that I've got it set up is that I'm asking for the top 5 for each category, and then we will tally up and report back to you all. And the link, actually, 1 second. So I will chat this out. This is the link. And you should be able to now have a website pop up on your screen where you will see the list of the range of outcomes that we heard, the range of priorities that we heard in the brainstorming session. And I'm asking you to choose the top ones for each criteria, knowing that some are gonna be really reflective of moving momentum, and some are gonna be really reflective of community priorities, that kind of thing. Or, there's probably a lot of correlation between those two, but in any case.
So Kylie, are we supposed to copy this link and then go into our own web browser and do it?
That's correct. That's correct. You would copy the link and go into
copy the pollev.com, and then you're going to, exit full screen. If you're in full screen, you're going to go down to your web browser, and you're going to paste it in your web browser, the pollev.com/Kylie Bednar 047.
Thank you.
You can enter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Hey, Wilford.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. You had made reference, I think rightfully so, that some of the outcomes, I can't remember how you exactly said it, but they're more objectives than outcomes, like with a physical represent a manifestation of what we would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, so in picking the top 5, how to make, to your point, like if some things are picked that aren't actually those physical manifestations, does that make sense?
We'll figure out how to, it might mean that it moves over into priority for an output.
Okay.
Or it might move into a longer term outcome. It just might wind up falling in a different place along the continuum. But given that it's kind of what we've heard from folks, we wanted to make sure that we were getting the feedback on the prioritization. Because we didn't want to throw something out because it wasn't an outcome, if you will.
And I'm not talking about, I agree, I don't think we should throw it out. I just don't want something to be overlooked, that it'd be a good objective, but not necessarily an outcome. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's the only thing I'm thinking. All right, thank you.
You got it. So we'll then kind of find where it fits.
So it's only let pick one.
So backtrack really quickly while Kylie figures that out. Is everybody here on the call able to get on a browser and see the poll, whatever it looks like?
No, I need the link emailed to me because I can't
Okay.
see the chat.
Oh, right. Thank you. I will do that right now, Debbie.
Thank you.
Anybody else that to get to poll, pollev.com /Kylie Bednar 047.
It would be helpful.
Oh,
to get
shoot,
that
I did that
either
wrong,
email
Debbie.
Or in the link to be able to do that.
Say that again, Sam?
It would be helpful to have that site either emailed or in the link. I don't have.
It's in the chat box. Do you have it in the chat box?
Let's see. It just
It
showed
doesn't
up.
seem to be a hyperlink. It's just the text. Cut and pasted as I'm attempting. It's not a hyperlink.
Okay, I think that I have changed the settings so that you can choose more than one. My apologies on that.
So should everybody be seen waiting for Kylie Bednar 047's presentation to begin?
You can't see it? Oh yeah, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right, let's try this again, activate. And I've allowed you to change your responses. So if you did already start, that's no problem.
So you can only choose one, is that correct, Kylie? For each
No.
prioritization.
I thought,
It
It's
says
still
you
just
can
doing
respond
one.
once.
oh goodness, I'm so sorry. Okay, let me see here.
It
Well-
blocks you if you try to choose more than one.
Okay, okay, we might need to address this then. I thought by selecting in this response settings that each option may be selected as many times as they like. I thought that was as many options as you want. But in any case, all right, let's see here. Let's revise and go ahead and would you like to just put in your top one, or is that too defining? I feel like it's too much. Let me see here.
If you can't figure it out, Kylie, maybe we send it out after.
We could send it out after. I wanted
You'll
to.
all have to respond.
Yeah, I mean the other option that I thought about, but you don't have anonymity, is putting your top ones into the chat. I know that some folks don't have the chat, but for the first one we could do, and you just type it into the chat, and we could do it that way. It's up to you all. How you like to.
I think that we send it out immediately after this
Okay.
webinar.
Yeah,
Because then we can gather it all and you can
Yep.
figure out that piece of it.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
And just remember, there's going to be 4, if I'm saying this correctly, 4 questions, or what was it called? It was called, I apologize, 4
There's
4
5.
prioritizations.
Yeah.
4 prioritizations.
5.
So you're going to pick 5 for each of the 4 prioritizations.
Each of the 5 prioritizations.
5. Sorry,
Yep.
5.
Yep.
5. Okay.
Yep.
Choose 5 for 5.
Yeah. 5 for 5. I like it. All right, we'll do it that way. Thanks to everybody for your tech flexibility. And I'm going to turn it over to Lisa. But before we do that, anybody have any questions?
Is the goal,
Could you-
or is there more conversation going to be had around the goal?
More conversations.
Okay, could you send that link by email? I'm having no luck getting it through the chat room.
Oh, sure thing. Yeah, we'll send an email out immediately once we get this 5 issue worked out.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, we'll send it out to everybody.
Great. All right,
Okay.
any other questions? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Lisa. We got the bookends, right? So she's going to talk through the inputs, the people, the important, the wonderful people.
Let's see if I can do this. There we go. Well, that doesn't look right. It's up there on the left. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So, first of all, I am not a graphic designer, nor am I supercomputer fabulous with PowerPoint. So, but basically, 3rd grade reading proficiency, and I even spelled that wrong on there, apologize. That is not good. Oh, whoops. Sorry about that.
I think if you actually go, yeah.
3rd grade reading proficiency is the goal, is the center. And what we decided to look at is all the layers of the landscape around that. Don't worry so much which categories that you're in, because I have a much bigger document that describes all of these organizations and where they're going to be. So this is just, Kylie said I couldn't share the really long one.
We're going to share it next time.
Yeah. Basically that there's 4 things, you'll see 4 boxes that deal with, that influence 3rd grade reading proficiency. Kindergarten readiness, and that's within the centers, right? What the kids are doing in the centers. And then there's kindergarten readiness, what you're doing in the home for the child. So that's family support. So that's dealing with children on the day they're born, or in utero, however you want to say it, the day they're born, until they get to kindergarten, is where they are in center bases and the quality of those, and where they are getting support by the families, I'm sorry. I did add this little section down here, just with the note that when I started this landscape, I hadn't met yet with many of the superintendents. And this is really not part of the National Campaign for Grade Level Reading, but it became very, very, very clear that K through 3 literacy ELA instruction is key after the kids get into kindergarten. You will notice I have museums, libraries, and the 9 network across both. They're helping within centers and with family support. So I kind of push them across. It's not perfect. I know like Ready Readers goes into centers, but they also provide books. So it's not perfect. And then summer and after school learning. What are our assets? What do we have? I listed those. Allie, there could be more than 72 listed. That was what it was when I looked. I'm sure there are. And then attendance. Who are the players that are helping with attendance? And then I looked over here. So how do we get these kindergarten or these early childhood educators and these teachers prepared, best prepared? What are our assets? What are, where can they go to get that preparation for early childhood? And then where can we get the funding also for this? Then, let me move this down. Then I looked at all the regional collaborations that are happening around here and how they support all of this work here. If something is missing, please put it in the chat or call me or text me or whatever. Then there's important business collaboratives. And then up at the top, honestly, what we have found in this is that our state of Missouri is one of the huge detriments for our children here in St. Louis in the promise zones. And that's where the big money comes in, and that comes with the misalignment of DESE and many of their priorities. And we learned that so much in those focus groups that the rural and urban divide is big. We also looked at all the people that are doing data and system coordinators. So working with all of these organizations that are putting together stuff and are helping and supporting Turn the Page STL in their work. And lastly, we looked at sorry about that. We looked at, I can't wait to see you guys in person and not have to deal with this. We looked at national associations that support us, National Campaign for Grade Level Reading, NACE, some other organizations that are out there, Communities in Schools, the International Literacy Association, which also includes Missouri Literacy Association and the St. Louis Literacy Association. And then some of our great programs that, national programs that our state has adopted, including All Our Kin. So that is my landscape. So when you're thinking through priorities, I want everybody to know how rich we are in this community with inside and outside support. And you can also kind of when you look at it, see some missing pieces, you know? So as we move through this, I don't know, does anybody have questions?
Great. Thanks, Julius. National Black Child Development Institute, another national professional organization.
Thank you.
Yes, certainly if there's additions, it's great.
But it's going to take it all. It's going to take everybody here on this page. It's going to take everybody on this page to even begin to turn the tide of centuries of poor education and poor educational outcomes. So that's it.
Thanks, Lisa.
Hey, Kylie, are you going to add an activities column to your logic model before the inputs?
Yes, it's there, isn't it?
Not on the one that you sent out, maybe because you can't see it. But
Yeah, it's kind of here. Yes.
No problem. You don't have to show it. I just was asking. I just
Yes.
wanted to know because I think that's important when you think about the inputs. Yeah.
Inputs and outputs. What are we doing and how are we measuring?
And I think, Wilford, and tell me if I'm right on this, Kylie, when we meet next as work groups, we're going to be selecting those interventions, those activities, those inputs within work groups.
Correct.
Are you looking, because I like the approach you described in the beginning, right? It's sort of what I describe as backwards mapping, right? You start with the ultimate, what you like to see, and then work your way backwards in terms of thinking about, like you said, like you're doing outcomes, you know, what objectives do we need to get to that? What outputs would help us measure those objectives and blah, blah, blah. So is that the plan to go backwards? Because then it's not as important what the activities are now, you'll get to that. But I think that's a great approach.
You got it. You got it. The work that folks are already doing is going to kind of show up in the activities and how they're measuring it. And then we'll understand then if there are additions that need to happen in the ecosystem or other activities in order to meet those goals. And that might require funding, that might require steps to get there. But that we're capturing the good work already being done and then how to build on that so that it adds up. Yep. Thanks, Wilford. Okay, well then speaking of next steps, one second. Back to the PowerPoint and share the screen. So, I do think, okay, share the landscape map. There we go. Next steps. We will want to have further dialogue around, I think, you know, Wilford's right that we're going to want to have some further dialogue before we jump into the interventions. So, Lisa, I'm going to suggest we do one more large all call as we follow up on the logic model and then moving into the work groups. And we're going to get those dates determined. So that's going to be, you know, those will be in September. And we also have recognized that that there's data is an important aspect of this process. How do we know? And that some things, you know, that we care about, that we, you know, some things have a proxy and some things don't in terms of what indicators we're looking at. But to the best of our ability, we'd like to be able to have some measurement. And so we know we have access to some. You can see that in the needs assessment. But we want to expand on that. So if you are a part of a school district or if you have a data person at your organization, you know, we work with the Regional Data Alliance. They're part of the Community Innovation and Action Center, so they're certainly involved in this conversation. But we want to have we know there's going to be a data agenda as part of this logic model and as part of the work. And so, Lisa, you want to say something?
Yeah, so there's certain data out there that is easy to get. Third grade reading proficiency scores, attendance, tardiness, stuff that DESE collects primarily and districts collect. But there's two big issues, and everybody at this table has been dealing this for decades. But if we want to say X number of children are kindergarten ready, and we want to increase it by 5%, and we're just looking at the Promise Zone school districts, there is no number for there's no kindergarten readiness percentage number already. Every classroom uses something differently. I have even heard from somebody on this call that they went in and did assessments of all the children and was not even utilized or tabulated or looked at by the kindergarten teachers. And when our work in the Regional Early Childhood Council that is disbanded and going to come back alive, I think that that's something that Turn the Page STL really needs to do, is we've got to get a handle on percentage of kindergarten readiness. The other big thing to tackle, and I know that the Clark Fox Foundation has been working on this for a long time, is where are our children in the summer? Because we know when they're in, schools can tell us if they have summer school, right? They're in the school for summer school. But there's so much else about, there's so much else, other things that the kids are doing over the summer, and we need to quantify that. So this work group that we're going to get together, I think really needs to focus on those two data points and figure this out and work collaboratively within our community to find them. And it's going to be hard because I've just been on the sidelines of this for years. And I want to just backtrack real quick with the September date. I had sent out a date in September for all of our work groups to meet. And so they could be in your Outlook calendar, your Google Calendar. Those are going to be, I'm going to be, what do you call it, deleting them. So our September dates will change. So I will be sending out what do you call it, Kylie?
Cancellation.
invite?
Cancel. Yeah.
Yeah, cancellation and a calendar invite, a new calendar.
Yeah. So don't be worried. It's just that we're going to have it on a different week in September.
Well, can I tell them why? Because you got selected to go to the collective impact training, right? So, yeah, which is great.
And Julius doesn't know this, but I got the scholarship.
Yeah.
To go. So,
the other thing too that you need to share is that Turn the Page was included in the national campaign's recent announcements. So
yeah, forgot about that. Well, you guys, I'll share that right at the end here. So next steps will be, we'll come back together again. You're gonna get a survey today, correct?
yeah, by the end of the day. Yeah,
priorities.
Work this out.
Yeah. Then you're gonna get a revised logic model to look at. We will get together again, probably the 1st of September, again as a whole group to look at that logic model. And then by the end of September, we'll come back together and put in those activities and interventions that each work group comes up. So that's correct? Is that next steps?
You got it. Great outline, Lisa.
All right, so I don't know if that third bullet.
Well, I changed it. So we'll ask folks to give their feedback, on the poll and everything by the 14th. That's a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the chat. Yeah.
Please do it as I'm
Yes.
trying to go through, find that.
And then we'll work on scheduling around the next steps.
Oops. I'm getting better at this, I think. I'm going to stop your sharing.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So as Julius and I were talking about yesterday, I am going to need to create a little graphic so I can post this on social media. But the Campaign for Grade Level Reading is pleased to announce that Turn the Page STL in Missouri and Growing Readers, a campaign community that spans 4 rural counties in central New York, have recently joined its growing network of 350 communities. So I love that we're first. So I will send this out to you. It gives you kind of an idea, but we're official now. So and it's good to have the support, especially from your boyfriend, right, Kylie? Ralph Smith.
Yes. He's a celebrity. Love him.
Oh yeah, somebody put in the survey that we needed to have like celebrities talk about read to your children, and Kylie's response was, "Well, Ralph Smith's a celebrity." And I'm like, no.
In my world.
Your world.
Dolly Parton on the list, though, Lisa. I saw Dolly Parton on the list.
Oh, it's true. The United Way runs the Dolly Parton Imagination Library here.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna get that survey figured out and get that out to you. Thanks to everyone, and we'll look forward to getting your feedback. And was there anything else, Lisa, that you wanted to follow up on?
I just really appreciate everybody being here and your responses and your openness and your input and your truth, because we're going to do this, guys. We're going to do this.
For sure. Awesome. All right. Thanks for your leadership, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Kylie.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.